Welcome, everybody. Welcome, Toufii Saliba, to This Week in Hypercycle. We are going to discuss all of the cool stuff that's happened over the last few days since we touched base. Toufi's been everywhere, talked to everybody, and he's literally shaked every single hand on the planet. So,
right. Like I went to this conference yesterday and today, and even on Sunday there was another conference with the IEEE, and it's overwhelming with the amount of people that you get to see, and and I like to give time for each and every person, and sometimes they want to introduce me to somebody, then it ends up like taking more and more. So the
the little branches,
5 minutes, and it's like, yeah, right. So but it's but a lot of excitements around hypercycle. I feel I'm extremely blessed to have a phenomenal community built around it, because without the community, it won't be able to deliver on its promises. So with that, you feel like almost everywhere you go, you find somebody from that community, or somebody who's linked to that somebody. So it's super exciting, and I really can't wait to see what the next few months and few years will unravel.
So last week, Toufii, you were kind of hinting at a partnership, a burgeoning relationship, and I think something to do with South Korea. Can you talk about that?
I can, to a certain extent, without necessarily revealing any names, because there will be proper PR around it, and we want to make sure that it is very well captured. We've done that with the HyperPG. It was pretty much my first experience where I would have certain events and not talk about them until a few months afterwards. And then the people, they get to see the entire story with the video and so on and so forth. And part of this is that folks may know part of that story, but it's the other part that we've pretty much nailed the last week, and we've got it signed on a Friday. It can give us the certainty about one of the aspects of hypercycle, which is a spin-off that it's called HyperAppliance. Of course, we've talked about HyperAppliance. We've talked about HyperASICs. Those are two different things. And we all know about HyperPG. So
can you, Toufii, just real quick, can you just tell people what is a HyperAppliance?
Of course. So the HyperAppliance, it is one of those things that we did not expect that we would go that route until early July, when we were in the AI for Good conference in Geneva. And when one of our advisors stumbled upon a hardware developer who his dream is to build those home appliances that they can run AI computation, but he ended up getting stuck doing crypto mining, because that's what people run. And then when he talked to Mihaela, she said that you need to meet Toufii, and then that led us to get to customize with their factory an appliance that that appliance will say HyperBox, and that HyperBox is one of the products that is being built with HyperAppliance. So HyperAppliance is effectively it's just like a name of the corporation that will be building this stuff. Extremely important to know the difference between hypercycle and HyperAppliance, because HyperAppliance, it's basically a company that we own certain percentage of it. They own a percentage of it. The Koreans, they own a percentage of it, and that company is there to build the hardware that people in cold countries, that they utilize electricity to heat their homes. They can utilize this appliance that will also heat their home, but it will pay for its own electricity, and it makes them extra money. Some calculations may give confidence to folks who feel like you get that appliance. It doesn't only heat your home, it actually pays for your entire electricity. Okay, so can we make that promise? Of course not, because there's certain places like Denmark, electricity is very expensive. We don't know how many appliances they can put in their home. But it's a very good angle for people to start thinking of how we're working with partners to bridge the gap between potential energy and thermal energy. Thermal energy is known in this universe to be the cheapest type of energy, and potential energy, depending on its potential, it could be very expensive. In this specific case, the potential energy is electricity. And then as it's being converted to thermal, there's a lot of stuff that can be done with it. So it doesn't really just convert into thermal. And that, for us to do that on top of a lot of the things that we're doing, it goes very well with our philosophy. It goes very well with us to build this with partners that they are specialized on that. And today we hired an executive who is dedicated. She's dedicated on HyperAppliance. That's all she would be doing. And she comes from the ecosystem, and we've worked with her before. And one of the reasons why we're doing that, because we felt like something that people give us a credit is that we focus on people's strength and not their weakness. And sometimes you work with some people, you've noticed that they have strengths, they have weakness, and you feel like, oh, look at that, this is happening. How about we can plug them into this? They can be better at exploring their strength and not so much their weakness. So it seems that it hits many different things that we're working towards, and it's super exciting to have.
So, and if I could just ask, so the HyperAppliance is a node or mini nodes that run inside a hardware device that people will be able to buy that that could facilitate heating for their home, but they could also just use it to generate income because they are part of the network of both tilling and compute at some point in the future in the whole hypercycle ecosystem.
Correct. And if people, they want to have the maximum amount of money making in that machine, of course, that means they own the machine, they own the node license, they own the tokens, they own all of that, then they're maximizing the amount of money they make. But that doesn't mean that, but here's the thing, the math should work, Nick, that if you were to spend $20 in Walmart to buy a space heater, and instead you're going to spend $20 on this computer that is effectively $1,200, but somebody is subsidized, somebody's taking piece of that. In that $20 that you spend, you need to be damn sure that it's actually still a lot more beneficial than the space heater. Otherwise, why you're occupying some brain cells to think about it? So you spend $20 for space heater, or you spend $20 for this sponsored device that heats your place and it pays for its own electricity plus. Wow, right? Imagine that. So imagine that you have a space heater that pays for it, all of its electricity plus.
And I think a lot of people are like, well, how much will these things pay? And they want exact numbers. But the thing is, until we reach the point where the hypercycle ecosystem is fully functional, which was originally slated to be 18 months from the launch, well, we won't have those numbers because we're not handling all of the compute and the business-to-business revenue that's going to be generated. We don't have that full ecosystem of nodes, spread out all over the world. So this is the slow ramp up into that full ecosystem.
Right.
So the numbers will come.
The numbers will come. What we do know is that, kind of like a race car driver, you bet on a race car driver seeing how they drive. And do I know how to drive in this AI world? And I bet on myself. Okay, so I know how to drive, and in that race car driver, would the race car driver be able to give you the exact math of when exactly the tire is going to be replaced, or what's the angle that they're actually taking that cut, or what's the other angle, and so on and so forth? And the answer is like, no. Even after they've done that 10 times and you're measuring, you're still having some range. But what we do know, we are doing our math from the perspective of what's the bar. And that's like the bar that I've explained. Like if a random person somewhere in Alaska or anywhere in a cold country usually spends $20, and then now they're going to spend also $20 to compare apple to apple with that $20, given that it's subsidized, that there's some people that they're making money from it because it's running in their home. Will that still pays for all of its electricity plus? If we're absolutely sure that it's going to pay for its electricity and having little buffer above, we're in good shape. Okay, so that's I feel like the bar is at what we're absolutely sure of. Above that, the actual details, well, things will change and fluctuate, even in the AI market. You might get that space here that after 5 years you may need to replace it because it becomes obsolete, because AI becomes so cheap that whatever AI used to run, nobody wants to buy that AI. So things will fluctuate, but if folks are presented with that opportunity and they know that that is the bar, that's a phenomenal proposition. And we're not doing something that we're going to go and change the entire world one shot. There are over 50 million homes that they heat their homes and with electricity. We're going with 0.1% of that, and that's the 52,000 nodes. So we're going very modestly, and we measure, and then we come back to the market with more things. And that's when I say we in this partnership, because we do have partners that they specialize in hardware and specialize in maintenance. We're just partnering with them because it is very well aligned with our mission. The bottom line of this, even if you ask any engineer in Hypercycle, if we don't make any money from this, and there's 52,000 nodes running Hypercycle, dude, the benefit of that is ginormous. When Dan and I were talking with our chairman, Todd Gebhardt, a couple of days ago, who is one of the top experts in security in the entire world, and renowned in many, he used to run McAfee and vice chair for Intel security or whatnot, and he knows how careful we are when it comes to security. And when he asked, what is the number one benefit having 52,000 nodes? And the number one benefit, it cannot be quantified, but it can be qualified, and it's security. You want to run your hypercycle with the highest amount of security? Well, let's get those 52,000 nodes in at least 5,000 homes. Okay.
Every node makes the entire ecosystem safer.
The more you add nodes, the more it gets safer and safer and safer. Of course, there are two other elements that they're beneficial, that we can quantify them. One of them is basically what kind of AI compute those nodes. When you run them, we measure them. We feel like, well, they're running. How do we measure them? It's a fully decentralized world. Toufii, what are you talking about? Well, we know that royalties, we collect 1%. That's one. The other thing is that what we also know, in that wealth creation, HyperPG is introducing this ERC721, which I really wish I have it ready to show it to you, but maybe next week. And it's effectively how you can actually see it and touch that, and see that that's the thing that is portable, that actually is capable of gaining that delta, the value, and at the same time it's capable of splitting its profit to all the beneficiaries. So then you don't have a static thing that is sitting somewhere. So those two added benefits, when you run them for like a few months, you'll be able to quantify them. But to me, the number one benefit is the qualifying the actual security that we gain from this. So look at that, Nick. 3 additional benefits that's on top. above and beyond what kind of money this company makes, because we're not here looking for money first. We're here to look for security first, for customers first, what we can bring added value to the world, and the money will come. Because if you were to be my CFO, which you know my CFO very well, and he asked me what is the money making from this thing, well, look at this, Mario. This company that we are spinning off from just these nodes alone, just selling these nodes, is even if it's going to take 2 years to sell these nodes, that company alone, based on almost any standards, would be worth from $0 to $200 million, and we own 30% of it. That's $60 million that we're adding into our company on top of everything that's just part of this company. So if you think about all of those benefits from the putting the token to work, putting the nodes to work, getting the AI to start coming in, and we get to compute it. And when I say all of these things, people, they need to remember that this is not our main thing of AI. We are the network. AI does exist. We enable every AI to make more money. That's why we happen to be involved with this. We are a lot more involved than all of those 52,000 nodes with big machines that they can run a lot of nodes at once. So I think the ratio would probably be 1 to 3. So 2/3 would be the big machines and 1/3 would be those small machines. So when we say 52,000 nodes, that's probably going to be the 1/3 of our entire nodes coverage.
So that's a lot. So that's pretty exciting. Well, I know you're busy. I know you're doing conferences and things like that. So we'll leave it here. But people will have a lot to talk about with the HyperAppliance and what that's going to look like. 52,000 it's not something to laugh at. That's quite impressive. And on that note, Toufii, I'll see you next week. We'll do it again.
Yes, absolutely. Just a quick note for anyone in our ecosystem: if they feel like having the very first batch, they would want to run it in their own home or whatnot, we'd welcome them with open arms. And we're going to have a lot of facilitations for the feedback and how they receive it and all of this stuff, because that can go part of the story of how the batches of 400 went into the ecosystem. We got feedback. We got the 52,000. We get feedback. Then we can go and blast it to the world.
Who do people reach out to if they want to get on the list for one of these devices?
Right now, I feel like it's still our best bet is still our website, but we will communicate a special website for this that people, they can go and put themselves there. But people, they know how to reach out on our website and say, like, sign me up. Like, I would want to get 1 or 2 of those devices. I mean, each and every one of those devices are about, like, on average, they're about like $1,200. If some people might say, sign me up, but I don't want to pay any money, like, get some sponsors, we will welcome that too. Okay, so it's not like we're not here to just sell to our community. We're here to appreciate their help and feedback. If they just want to turn it on in their home, they want someone else to sponsor it. There are a lot of folks that they just want to sponsor and say, like, I want to sponsor 100 of those devices. There's like $120,000. You can sponsor them, and that would be part of the pool that we're putting together that would take care of this stuff. So people, they're able to measure what they're putting their money into.
Awesome. I'm looking forward to it. I'll be heating my house, although I live in California. It doesn't ever get cold, but maybe this will be the winter.
Yes. Well, right. we want to convert every winter into summer. How about that?
That's right. Thank you so much for your time, Toufii, and we will do it again next week.
Perfect. Thanks so much. Take care.
See ya.
If you're serious about cryptocurrency, digital assets, artificial intelligence, game theory, the complex and often confusing world of macroeconomics and finance, you must learn to manage your assets like an experienced hedge fund manager. Join us at Nick Black Next.com and be a part of Digital Investor, 3 live streams each week full of experienced and specific portfolio management education. Join us at www.nickblacknext.com.